Welcome everyone back to Spoiler Warning featuring myself, Tom Colohue. Our headlines today are mostly built around our top story, which is John Cena and CM Punk's potential involvement in this year's WrestleMania. We're going to talk the CM Punk return first. Then we're going to talk about Brock Lesnar and the rumour swirling around that he's returning, which is entirely false. I'll be diving in on that one. We're going to talk John Cena's invite to WrestleMania. We're going to talk a little bit about a group of people I'm referring to as the Thin Ice Brigade, who keep diving into what we're doing here and then reporting it as if they said it. So, wonderful collection of people who don't know how to work and operate. We're going to talk Uso versus Uso and how The Rock has not been involved in that one for a reason. The women's tag title match being built for WrestleMania, WWE at the Oscars, and a major, well, I'll say major, I'm not going to throw the word major around, and an AEW faction that the WWE is interested in picking up wholesale and dropping straight back into the WWE, an entire faction that they would like. I'm not late, Eric. This is exactly the time that I always go live in the UK. So be sure to say hi as you come in and ask whatever questions you have. We'll start with our top story, which is the return of CM Punk. If you're a regular here on Spoiler Warning, you're already fully aware that there were plans for the return of CM Punk, that the WWE were having him very involved in WrestleMania. Now they've announced that for the Go-Home Monday Night Raw on the... Sorry, not the Go-Home. For the Monday Night Raw on the 25th of March, CM Punk will be in attendance. As I've already reported, CM Punk will be at WrestleMania. Whether backstage or out front remains to be seen, but he will be at the show of shows. The WWE has not yet finalised plans. I suspect he'll be at least somewhat involved in the kickoff show panel. Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins will be the focus of Punk's return on March 25th, but the list of people wanting to work with him is pretty much endless. The Rock, John Cena and Logan Paul all seem interested in working with CM Punk, but what I will say is that The Rock usually gets his way. Further down the card, there's not too many people who seem likely to be working with CM Punk. He's being reserved for bigger name feuds, similar to how Cody Rhodes is being used, but he will be used with Damage Control upon his return as well. The intention is, after his return, to be competing almost immediately for World Championships. World Championships and, of course, World Heavyweight Championships. Spider-Boss says, hi Tom, I wonder why fans turned on Corbin back in 2018, because he wasn't their favourite guy. Who's the best female wrestler from the UK? I've said it before, I'll say it again, I love Hannah Taylor. Michael says, hi Tom, welcome Michael. Noob says, good evening Noob. Spider-Boss says, I think WWE would like to have the House of Black, more on that later. And Khalid says, Tom, my friend. Hello, my friend. Jay says, here we go. William says, just recently found this channel awesome work and thank you for being so accessible. Thank you very kindly, William. It's a very nice thing to say. Jay said quite nice things as well earlier. I'm very positive about this. The critic that I will listen to is you, the viewer. I could not care less about what other wrestling journalists say. I could not care less what people say who don't watch. I'm only interested in those of you who are actually watching, okay? That's why it's such a big compliment to see something like that, William. Thank you kindly. Leon says, hi, Tom. Hope you're doing well. Doing very well, thank you. And Jay says, good evening. Juan says, let's go. Alex says, I posted in the Discord something Brandon Thurston has put out about Nick Khan being revealed to be a part of the Vince allegations. I don't think this is necessarily something that's been revealed. The investigation was always going to go via Nick Khan because Nick Khan was installed during the period of allegations by Vince McMahon. Joey is also guessing House of Black. Let's dive into that one. That could be fun. I've mentioned earlier, and I will be mentioning later, a faction in AEW that Triple H and WWE directly invested in bringing over wholesale from AEW to WWE. Who do you think it is? Eric says, daylight saving time sucks. I cannot disagree, though it does mean I might get to watch SmackDown a little earlier this week. That said, I probably won't because I don't do the watch parties live anymore. So, you know. Marcel says, hi Tom and chat, how are you? Doing very well. Marcel, welcome to the show. Richard says, is the AEW faction you mentioned House of Black? More on that shortly. Hector says, evening Tom. Brandon Thurston has reported both Nick Khan and COO, that's Chief Operating Officer, Brad Bloom have been revealed as key figures in the Vince McMahon sex trafficking suit. Again, they are people who are likely to be in the know. They may also be some of the figures that were not named but referred to in the court filings, because there are a number of people who were not named but were certainly mentioned. King Arthur says, hey Tom, do you think Brock Lesnar will be at Raw tonight as he was added to the roster? More on that very shortly, King Azza. What I do suggest is anyone who doesn't currently follow me on the old Twitter machine, you may be quite interested to see an 18,000 view tweet where I address this very subject, but I'll mention it further as soon as I've caught up. Okay, Sophie goes a bit deeper and named more people. Nick Khan, Brian Klum, Stephanie McMahon and Brian Nurse, who is head of WWE's legal, revealed as key figures in Vince's case. It really does depend what you mean by key figures. That's really not telling me much that I can work with. Jay says, anything on Brock tonight? My second piece of news, so the next one. Wrestler fan says, will Jade Cargill be competing at WrestleMania 40? I've shared everything I possibly can. As regards Jade Cargill. Hello, Brad, how you doing, mate? Joey says, Fightful reported Matt Hardy's contract expired. Your report was right again. If TK is letting go of wrestlers that have been there for a while. Yes, it's a couple of times I've reported that exact thing, and shortly afterwards, that's exactly what happened. Jay, I wouldn't go that far. Mate. Jay says, Nick Khan has nothing to do with the article with clickbait. This came from Brandon Thurston, who, in my eyes, is the best wrestling journalist that there is at this point in time. He bats an average of 100. He genuinely does. Okay? So I haven't had the time to dive into it because it's recently come out, but I wouldn't immediately scrap it. Khalid says, congratulations to Muhammad Ali in the Hall of Fame. So happy for him. Spider-Boss says, I think it's time to see more of the Usos heading into WrestleMania. So far has been Jimmy getting involved in Jay's matches. We have more on that shortly. Backwards says, hey Tom, how you doing? Who do you think is going to win the Intercontinental #1 contenders match? I think it will be Sami Zayn. Personally, I also lean towards Sami Zayn. As much as I do think Chad Gable would be a great shout, and I genuinely do, I just think it very unlikely that he'll get that big an opportunity when Sami Zayn is right there and wouldn't get a WrestleMania match if that's the case. We currently have 61 people watching, only the 19 likes. One more gets us to 20. Can you be the one? A lot of people suggesting House of Black. Eric suggests also The Acclaim. Daniel says, yo, Daniel. Richard says, hello, Tom. Could we see more than one posthumous entry to the Hall of Fame? Maybe Bray Wyatt and Chyna. It's Triple H's first year. He can do whatever he wants. Spider-Boss says, the House always win. House of Black to WWE. I remember Malachi Black was a Triple H guy. Khalid says, Tom, I enjoyed when Cody Rhodes slapped The Rock. Tell you what you might like, Khalid. Wrestling. Jason suggests Jay White's group. Joey says, who's behind the PW Scoops account that randomly popped up with your Alexa report? More than just the Alexa report, Joey. I will be mentioning them shortly. I don't have a name. I only randomly ran into them yesterday because of Kieran defending me, and I jumped in and calmed things down. May have not wanted to do that because I've seen more since, and I'm not liking what I've seen. And I say that knowing full well that you're watching. I know that you're watching. I know full well that you're watching. It is blatantly obvious that you're watching. Trust me, I'll get to you. Eric says House of Black or Undisputed Kingdom. A lot of people hedging their bets. Razal says, hello Tom, I got seated for spoiler warning only to find out it's an hour late due to daylight savings. An hour late for you, exactly on time for me. This happens twice a year. People still aren't quite used to it. Andrew says, hello Tom, hope you had a great day. Haven't been well the last 2 days. Had a high fever but I'm feeling a lot better. And I think the faction is House of Black, Triple H wants. Hope you feel better soon, Andrew. Michael says the key figures from Brandon Thurston's article are corporate officers 1 to 4 in the lawsuit. Right, thank you for that one, Michael. That suggests that they have been identified at least by Brandon Thurston, and we're going to be hearing a lot more. A lot of people speculated Triple H was Corporate Officer 1. Spider-Boss says, do you know if AEW is interested in signing another talent from WWE? If they are, it'll be because the talent is good. So it's really simple. Are they good talent in WWE? Yes, then AEW is interested. Hector says, I have a strong feeling Drew is going to have a good promo to come regarding CM Punk, and I'm ready for it. Sovic says, Tom, that's what FOS said, that they are identified independently for this case as FOS cross-check. Who's FOS? Need your help with that one. Thomas says, hi Tom, who do you think will win the Gauntlet match tonight? I'm still on Sami Zayn. Sovic says the details of the suit against publicly available records like online resumes and corporate filings, FOS. Again, I'm missing a piece of information here. Thank you, Sovic. Thank you. Again, I haven't had time to look into this. I was finishing my scripting and going live. Joey says, WWE announced Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis will have an announcement tonight and they finally split in the tag belts. Did WWE announce that? I thought it was WrestleVotes that announced that. which is not WWE. Confirm for me if the WWE have actually announced that. Noob suggests House of Black as well. Leon says apparently AEW and Shelton Benjamin have been in talks according to Fightful. Spider-Boss says it would be fun to watch Bullet Club Gold in WWE. Joey suggests it might be Christoph's alt account. Christoph wouldn't have an alt account, and if he did, he'd spend money on it because Christoph pays. Juan says, hey Tom, as soon as Mercedes Money said she'll return one day, then the dirt sheets immediately reported she's coming back now. Yeah, the dirt sheets are good for that. They completely make a joke of it. Blair says, do you believe Virgil will get in the Hall of Fame? Very big question. I find it unlikely. King Azza says, I think Brock will be a surprise in the IC #1 contenders match. That is our next piece of news. Marcel suggests Bray. Friday's spoiler warning was all about that. Check it out. Ray says, someone on YouTube said The Rock will help Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 40 and set up The Rock versus Roman. Someone on YouTube will always say stuff because everyone will eventually have every opinion. Spider-Boss says, do you know if Miro still wants to leave AEW? Yep. Hector says, Tom, what do you think the Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis announcement could be? I know it won't happen, but I'm hoping it's the splitting of the tag titles. Personally, my opinion, what we're going to see is the exact same thing. So it'll be, here is what's going to happen for the tag team titles at WrestleMania. I don't see them being split. If they are, they then need to essentially make the tag champions wrestle both nights. And that would make sense if the plan is to have Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre before the actual main event of WrestleMania, because then they could lose everything and then gain a World Heavyweight Championship. Jason says Triple H wants more talent, but not a lot of WWE talent will be used on TV. Triple H is always interested in new talent. That doesn't mean he's always going to get it. Joey says if they split the tag titles now, will there be some kind of tournament for the SmackDown titles going into Mania? If this happens, will this happen? I can't answer those questions. Thank you guys for confirming. Aled, Joey and Hector all confirming that we did see the announcement. KJ, you may have seen on WrestleVotes, but 3 voices saying that it was formally announced, one of which does very specific say Adam Pearce announced it on his Twitter page. That's enough for me. So what I think is going to happen, as I mentioned, is the announcement of whatever the tag team championship match will be going into WrestleMania. It'll be both men because it's both brands. After that, we'll see what happens. I do think they should split the tag team championships. They've been building a division for it. Why not use it? Bailey, there are still Hall of Fame entrants left to be announced. This is not it to my knowledge. Thomas says, did you see the Chad Gable video package he put out on X? Surely that leads to him winning, as it would be strange if not, as it's given Gable a lot more hype. Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. They like to build people up. They like to hype people up. That usually means they're someone they want you to believe in. Aled says, was Brock actually removed from the roster page to begin with? More on that very shortly, just as soon as I've caught up with these last few messages. Ghost says, hi Tom and chat. Hope everyone is doing well. Doing very well, thank you, Ghost. Welcome back to the show. Spider-Boss says, people on social media called Roman a homophobe after last SmackDown, where Roman called Seth Rollins a crossdresser. And I did mention, personally, I just think Seth Rollins gives The Rock gay panic. Roman, by extension, is picking up on that. Jason says, so far, Bayley versus Io Sky has been a better build over Rhea versus Becky, primarily because Rhea versus Becky just haven't been involved. It's been all Liv Morgan and Nia Jax instead. And Spider-Boss says, do you think are we still going to get Bron Breakker versus Gunter? Not at WrestleMania this year, but I definitely think that moment is coming. Brock Lesnar. Now, if you do want news like this, be sure to be signed up on both the Twitter and the YouTube. I report news on YouTube, but I will share it later on Twitter. So by all means, check that out. As I reported more than 2 months ago, Brock Lesnar is still under WWE contract. As I'm reporting now, he was never removed from the active roster on the WWE page. That did not happen. Thank you very kindly, Martin, for renewing your subscription for a 17th month. Welcome back to the show, and I hope you enjoyed the game and hopefully didn't enjoy the injury, which may derail a game in a couple of weeks. What a pity. Anyway, when it comes to Brock Lesnar, you can't always just fire someone. If a lot of responses to my tweet ask why can't they just fire him because he's wasting money. No, if you fire him, you'll have to pay out a lot more money than just letting things wear down. Primarily because Brock Lesnar's contract does include a bit of a pay-per-play option, where essentially if he's not wrestling, he makes a lot less than he would do if he was wrestling. So he's not getting anywhere near as much as he used to. There was also a contract renewal that was coming up shortly. And that contract renewal is now no longer on the table. So it's not that long to get through. Now, his contract will likely slowly expire, but this rumour that he was brought back to the WWE main page, that his merch was suddenly selling again, is complete garbage. It's complete guesswork from people who want to be journalists. And this is one of my favourite things. You get people on Twitter who literally sit and refresh that page every day. And they will think, oh, that person wasn't there before. And they are. I had someone respond from PW Unlimited here on YouTube who said that if you filter it a certain way, it's new and he's back. And then someone responded pointing out that if you use the Wayback Machine, which I did before I posted the tweet, you will know that that's not the case. A lot of people have a lot of different opinions on this one. Brock Lesnar is not likely to come back, at least anytime soon. Brock Lesnar will be part of an investigation, but as there are no actual allegations against Brock Lesnar, that really does change the scenario. I personally believe if he kicked up enough of a fuss, they would be forced to use him, or potentially, there would be some lawsuit in play if they didn't use him. I think Brock is choosing to go quietly because ultimately, if he's not working under Vince McMahon, Brock Lesnar seems not to want to work at all. The rumour has exposed a lot of people who could not care less about the accusations and are likely annoyed that Vince isn't already back. The amount of people who are consistently telling me that, oh, we know Brock did this, but he didn't do anything wrong, tells me so much because, one, you don't know Brock did that. These are allegations. No evidence has been provided as of yet beyond the court filing of one private individual. And two, you can't just forgive everything because you like a person. Firstly, you haven't met Brock Lesnar, and you might not like him if you do. Never meet your heroes, guys. I've never met Brock Lesnar. I am okay with it. Next up will be about John Cena and then our Thin Ice Brigade. Blue says, after how well the match went over last year, could see Gunter in another triple threat with Chad and Sammy after a screwy finish. I certainly think that's possible. After all, a gauntlet match does mean that there are two people in last, so that is a one-on-one match. Evening, Ross. Nice to see you, mate. Martin says, good evening, Tom and all the chat. Hope we are all well. And yes, there was a little bit of smugness because, let's face it, when I go on your platforms, I really respect the audience that you have, but I am sort of an invader. So it's nice to bring you to mine every now and then. For those who weren't aware, I have popped up on the Mancunian Way, which is a Manchester City fan site run by Martin here, a couple of times now, usually when the Liverpool games are coming up. If you're interested in football, that might be for you. Also, we are on 29 likes right now, 79 people watching. One more will get us to 30. Can you be the one for me? One says, John Cena deserves an Oscar for coming out naked at the Oscars. Sort of. More on that soon. Cal says, hey Tom, hope you're good, mate. Doing very well, thank you, Cal. Welcome. Khalid says, people were just telling lies. I don't know where it started, but it never ended. Spider-Boss says, I like the Naomi and Bianca segment on SmackDown. Naomi trusts in Bayley and Bianca doesn't. Roger says, Camille did an interview on Wrestling News YouTube. She said she knows what company she's signing with. She did not say what company she was signing with. In many ways, that's not even news. Joey says, could you see Triple H bringing back Matt Hardy for a producer or coaching role? I've already reported everything I can on that one on Friday's show. Slavic says, I've met Cena and Becky. They were cool. Cal says, realistically, Brock won't be pushed like he would want, and to be honest, I think WWE need to move on. As a company, the safe decision for the company is to let his contract run out, in my opinion. I also think, let's be fair, most wrestlers would not want to work with him right now. William says, do you think we'll see a ladder match at Mania this year? I saw some speculate the IC title or US title might end up being a ladder match, but it doesn't seem to be the case. I don't see it. I never really saw it. It's certainly always possible, but Triple H is moving away from the big multi-man matches. The only reason we had the Intercontinental Championship triple threat last year, he's not a big fan of triple threat matches, is because Sheamus was there to help out Drew McIntyre, who was working hurt. Spider-Boss says, from what I get, Brock isn't interested in working under Triple H. Sovic says, heroes can be good, it depends which ones you choose. Fair. And Khalid says, I only met Bray. Taylor says, go Reds. Welcome, Taylor. You're very welcome, Martin. You plug me as much as anyone else. Symbiotic relationship, man. I know we do very different coverage, but anything I can do to help, you know I got you, man. Wrestler fan says, is there going to be a WWE draft this year? Yes, I expect to see a draft this year. No worries, Cal. Jason says, if you use Brock face-to-face, you better run. Yeah, I agree with that. Scary man. Spider-Boss says, Brock Lesnar has too much money already. He doesn't need WWE. He never did. Martin says, anyone see the cameraman having a panic attack on The Rock at SmackDown? Yeah, so, little tidbit on this one. The Rock keeps going over and is pissing people off because he's taking a lot of opportunities away from people. Segments have been cut. A lot of build for wrestlers like DIY, for example. A lot of what the vignettes they would have played, Pretty Deadly's vignettes, a lot of the tag division work is having to be cut to make room for The Rock not managing his own expectations. Infuriating. Dane says, what is your all-time favourite wrestling move? I have a favourite wrestling move. I have a finisher. I have a personal finisher, which I've never seen anyone else use. I've never seen in any other format. It's an inverted jackhammer I call the Rapture. Inverted jackhammer. Yeah. Carl says, Tom, I'm hooked with WWE at the minute. I've not enjoyed wrestling as much as recently. It's a very, very good time to be a wrestling fan. Martin says, Roman smiled as he got slapped. As The Rock got slapped, you say? This slow build to Rock versus Roman is actually great, as the tension is so there between Rock and Roman. And Carl's favourite wrestling move is the Cobra. Next piece of news is as regards John Cena and WrestleMania. 4 likes gets us to 40, guys. 4 likes gets us to 40, and that is still only halfway to the total viewership. If you can, please do consider it. And if you're liking the video, if you're enjoying it and you've not yet subscribed, this might be the channel for you. Check it out. John Cena has been invited to WrestleMania but hasn't yet confirmed his attendance with the WWE. He's expected to be available primarily because Peacemaker is not filming during that time and those dates for each night of WrestleMania. A number of different creative options have been pitched to him. Some involve The Rock, some involve CM Punk, many involve just John Cena himself as a host or in some way involved in opening night 2 of WrestleMania, so there's lots of possibilities there. John Cena is said to be interested, but he hasn't been able to confirm as of yet. There are no plans right now, there would need to be a negotiation before this happened, for John Cena to be involved in any actual physical altercations. His insurance will not cover it while still under contract for Peacemaker. This is a lesson learned from John Cena versus The Rock way back when, more than 10 years ago now, when The Rock was allowed to wrestle while filming a role, and they lost a lot of money on him because of the injury he picked up. John Cena expected at WrestleMania, has been invited, number of creative pitches made, but he hasn't yet confirmed his attendance. There'll be a little more on John Cena and the Oscars very shortly. Little thing I want to mention. For those who do follow me on Twitter, I don't know if you'll have seen this one, but there's a few pretty big successes happening for me on Twitter as we speak. One of them is I've learned how to use Twitter in a much more interesting way, in a way that's drawing much more traffic, much more interest, and at the moment my engagement rate is going up. If you have a high engagement rate, pretty much anything you post will reach a wider audience, and that's why I'm getting more views on the links that I post to Spoiler Warning. It's really driving a lot of traffic to YouTube. That's part of a long-term pattern. We've had 282 link clicks in the last 30 days. It's only an average of about 10 a day, but that's still not bad because that's traffic going straight to this YouTube channel. As part of the Twitter being more successful, I'm earning seemingly more doppelgangers and more people who are determined to go on the attack. For example, many of you will not remember this name because it was well before your time, but we used to have a community member called Misfit Matt, or Matt the Misfit, he referred to himself as. He has a podcast now. Anyway, he was briefly a large part of the Discord, and he was the first person we kicked out of the Discord for abuse, sexism, and for constantly lying. The amount of times he told us Charlotte Flair's going to do this horrible thing, and he would not listen is ridiculous. Anyway, he tried to call me a liar. He quote tweeted the Brock Lesnar tweet, which has been confirmed by a whole lot of other people now, and called me a liar. So I posted a tweet which hasn't got great engagement, but it's more for him. For those that don't know, Misfit Matt here was removed from our community and banned for continually trying to spread false information. Several years later, he still seems willing to willfully misinterpret whatever I say to suit his agenda. Because we are on YouTube, we are free press, and I take great pride in being free press. This means that people like Misfit Matt, people like Christoph and Wrestling Informer can take the news from here and just share it without ever crediting me. I've seen tweets from individuals such as this get thousands upon thousands of views and their profile be built and built and built off the back of news that I have shared. I'm okay with that. Because while I know you guys are very angry about it, let them get big. And then, in one fell swoop, I'll post all of the screenshots. All of the screenshots. Proving that everything that's made them popular came from me. All that audience they built. Job's a good one. That's the intention. Anyway, that's the intention. I've also seen PW Scoops, who recently followed me yesterday, posting a few things on Twitter which are very similar to what I've already shared. So about Dark Lexi, Alexa Bliss and her impending return, but also most recently exactly what I reported on Friday about Matt Hardy. Exactly what I reported. Now, it may be that they are getting the exact same information. They're not getting it from the same source, so I don't see how that's possible. But we'll see how it goes, and I'll keep an eye on it. Because, as you all know, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. And, yeah, Alid, I'm aware of that one. I appreciate you letting me know. And I also appreciate Kieran, by the way, giving me the heads up. I appreciate you, Kieran, very much for that. I think there's quite a lot of people who are intent on doing the exact same thing, farming news, pretending it's theirs, and growing on that basis. Eventually, Twitter will start to pay these people. Twitter, unfortunately, is built for that. What I would say is that the most important thing is that eventually people will find that all of that news comes from here. My main source of protection from that is you guys. Because whenever you guys sing my praises, whenever you guys go out there and say, this person reported this channel grows. You guys are really putting me over and it's really helping the channel. So, massive thank you. I'm keeping track of my doppelgangers. I'm referring to them as the Thin Ice Brigade. And on the Discord, we are keeping track with screenshots and evidence. Thank you to many of you who've shared with that as well. Thank you, Alan. Appreciate you. I'd imagine it's the Matt Hardy one. So, let's continue before we get to our next piece of news, which is as regard Uso versus Uso. Carl says, a pop if Cody beats Roman is going to be crazy. Leon says, I met Pac once at Rev Pro event and my dad said, is that Neville? Pac heard him and stuck his middle finger up at my dad. Not sure if he was angry for real, but it was funny. Bastard Pac, mate. Bastard Pac. See, that's lovely. That's lovely. And that makes me think less ill of them. There's a little bit of, credibility that needs to be built at times. And if they're doing that, wrestler fan, that they are tagging me while actively watching, which they clearly are actively watching, hi PW Scoops, that's a good thing. That helps the growth of my channel. That's a wonderful thing. So, I'm all there for it. But you understand, guys, why I'm always a little bit suspicious. We've had too many doppelgangers. KJ says, Roman was smiling when Rock got slapped because Rock dropped the Cody, you're a mistake line. Roman laughed and the laugh happened during the laugh. He didn't laugh at Rock being slapped. A lot of people reading into that one. I'm not entirely sure. Got you, Aled. We take great pride in being the most well-informed we can. If you do say something and it's not quite accurate, appreciate you for correcting it. That's what we do here. Sometimes you say something and it's not 100%. So we learn and we grow. No worries, KJ. Not a worry. Roger says, my finishing wrestling move would be pedal pump. It's a Steiner recliner. Interesting. James says, why am I seeing posts everywhere saying Brock is returning tonight? Is this real or clickbait? Clickbait. He was never removed from the roster. The fact that people think he has is entirely on them. What up, Wiggly? Spider-Boss says, I think WWE hyped too much the answer from Cody and Seth to The Rock. All that hype only for Cody slapping back The Rock. I missed a little bit of brawl. To be fair, the WWE are building towards a match. They're not going to give you everything immediately. Noob says, will John Cena be helping Cody Rhodes dealing with the Bloodline? How would I know that? I've reported what I've reported. There's a number of different creative options. He hasn't guaranteed he's going to be there. Wiggly says, what do you think of John Cena's turn at the Oscars? More on that shortly. Mixed news aside, Tom just joined, so sorry if you already answered the question. What are the plans for Cena and Punk in the near future? Punk was our first story, Cena was our third, so if you pop back to the beginning of the show and about 20 minutes in, you find all the information you need there. Taylor says, you're a likeable guy, Tom. Congrats on your recent success. Thank you, Taylor. Thank you very kindly. Things are going really well at the moment. Mixu says they're not legit. Stolen much information from other outlets like PWI or Fightful. Juan says, I always make sure to include you when I tell your reports to others. Also tell them to please believe your reports because you're right majority of the time and rarely wrong. Thank you, Juan. I know it's a lot to ask people at the moment to believe people they don't know. All they need to do is look back at my record. Just look back at my record, you know? Then he says, I'm loving 2K24. My rise, my wrestler is called Smokey Joe. Love it. Blue says, Tom, did they remove Brock from the game? Yeah, they removed him as playable, but he can still be accessed via certain modes. Michael, of course, you'd remember this one. I appreciate you for double checking. PW Scoots was the guy who claimed Mercedes would be at the Royal Rumble up until the show started and didn't back down from it. I had to rumour kill that a lot. Like a lot. Spider-Boss says, I remember how many times you told to Simon, the Liv Morgan guy, also a Sasha Banks guy to be fair, to calm down. It's been quite a while without hearing about Simon. Yeah, because he's banned. He's banned, mate. I banned him from the chat. There is a point at which there's too much. And it's not often. It's very much not often. But sometimes people gotta go. There's a number of different reasons for it. Firstly, non-stop spam. Secondly, my favourite isn't a world champion. Clearly the world is evil. It's awkward. Just awkward for everyone involved. And third, I'm not a counsellor, guys. If you're having problems, you need to seek actual help. If you are derailing the stream and making everyone else not want to be there, I'm going to get rid of you. I was receiving messages from people saying that the mood in the chat, the mood in the Discord is bad and people did not want to join. I don't know how people feel now, so it's a great chance to ask the question. Are you guys happy with the mood, the crowd, and the chat now in these streams? Are you happy with the people who join us? Carl says, I watched some more Ospreay and Okada matches after you recommended them. They're both unbelievable. I'm a fan of both now. I'd imagine you're going to enjoy it even more in future then, Cal. Thomas says, just realised I'll be missing both nights of WrestleMania. My girlfriend has booked a weekend away that week. Tamping? Don't know what that means. Yeah, clearly they are, KJ. Clearly they are. Jason says, Karrion Kross vs Bobby Lashley feud is not interesting. I would say it's the most interesting thing Karrion Kross has done so far. William says, do you think we'll see any stipulation for LA versus AJ, Ray versus Santos, or Jay versus Jimmy, no DQ, street fight, etc.? I would lean towards a stipulation like a street fight. I think that's a good shout for Jay versus Jimmy. Wrestler fans says they're going to be WrestleMania 40 kickoff matches. Possibly, but we are looking at 15 matches total, so there will be room for the matches to make the card. Ray says, I'm hoping Charlotte Flair makes a return ASAP. Do you think she returns a babyface or a heel? Face. Thank you, Khalid, for clarifying. We just got an ad. After 200 views, that's not bad. Leon says, any updates on when Sheamus is returning? No, the WWE aren't sure at this point, to be honest. Wiggly says, Rock and Cena were both on screen at the same time at the Oscars. Yes, they were, and they weren't alone. Wrestler fan says, will Ray face Santos at WrestleMania 40 or just a multi-man match between LWO and Legado? I think the WWE is angling towards Ray versus Santos, but you've got enough people to make it bigger, you might as well make it bigger. Jason says, your record better be truth this Wednesday. I'd imagine this is as regards Mercedes money. To be clear, as regards Mercedes money, and I think there's plenty of people you could talk to about this who are Mercedes fans in the chat, that's probably one of the people I have the strongest record about. Like, I've been lucky enough to report a lot of information about Mercedes, and it's always been proven accurate. Always. Michael says, this looks pretty bad from Brandon Thurston's article. Nurse, being Brian Nurse, corporate officer number 4, In November 20, Nurse was, the suit says, terminated or asked to resign, making him one of a number of employees it claims were forced to resign or were let go if they knew of McMahon's exploits and failed to assist, support and or facilitate them. Wow. Okay. You don't post that unless you have a lot of evidence. Ghost says, I feel like I missed a lot in the couple of weeks I've been gone. There's been quite a lot, Ghost. I'll update everyone more about my own big life update again soon. Hopefully you can enjoy that. Wow, Roger, that's harsh, Miles. No. Brad says, Howie's tweets on everything that you got right coming. Still work in progress. The idea is it'll be posted and starting around WrestleMania time. I've reported a lot of stuff. So I've got a couple of years of stuff already lined up, ready to go. And that will go live in one thread around WrestleMania time. But yeah, thanks for checking in on that. Wiggly, thank you kindly for renewing your subscription, a 30th month total. You have been with us a very long time, mate. Khalid says, today I was playing The Fiend Bray Wyatt versus Roman Reigns dream match, RIP. Alex says, have you heard about people having live entrances at Mania? Yes, but it's just rumours at this point in time. Nothing really can be shared. Carl says, to be fair, I think the world is evil, because I believe Paul Heyman should be the one to beat Roman Reigns. Brad likes it here. Michael likes it here. Good to know. Juan says, much better, Tom. More positive vibes, please. Spider-Boss says, do you think Liv will be at WrestleMania 40? She will indeed. Khalid says, I'll always be respectful to you and the chat. Appreciate it. Gotcha, Thomas. Thank you kindly. Taylor says, always love chatting with these wonderful people on YouTube twice a week. Good to hear it. Steve says, I don't know what's going on in this chat, but we know what's been happening on Twitter with certain AEW personnel. Is Twitter bad for AEW talent? Twitter tends to be bad for everyone who uses it. Twitter's a bad place. I'm using it entirely for advertisement. Works out for me. Alyssa says, people on Cody Rhodes heel turn. Why people scare Roman Reigns title ick? Make important title. Why people scare Cody Rhodes win title? Some people want him turn heel. Martin says, I've had to do that on mine, sadly, as their favourite player isn't playing or being criticised, so it's the end of the world. Yeah, it's just not worth doing. Cal says, Tom, did you know Kurt Angle has no 5-star matches? Yes. Noob says, will we see the Kabuki Warriors defending the women's tag titles at WrestleMania 40 or a non-title match? All of my predictions for WrestleMania 40, all of my match predictions are already live in the PLE Wednesday playlist. Check that out for everything there. Hector says, Justin Barraza reported one of the key factors in Okada's signing of AEW was that he wouldn't need to relocate to the US and could continue to live in Japan if he chooses. That's also true of Will Ospreay, by the way, just not Japan. Spider-Boss says, carrying Cross is a good heel, but unlucky Cross doesn't get any reaction from fans despite having Scarlett and Paul Ellering at his side. To be fair, if he's not involved in wrestling, that's never going to change. Then he says, Roman Reigns 4 weeks ago told Seth Rollins he wore his wife's clothing while bearing his world title and none of you said a word. Last night he said the same thing and has cancelled Roman Reigns. Who are you referring to there, Zane? Because you seem angry and you don't know who at, because nobody in here is doing that. Khalid says, I think Naomi will help Bayley. Blue says, looking at the WrestleTix numbers, Mercedes' debut looks to be coming in under blood and guts in Boston last year, but still great for this year. Let's not lose track of that. Roger says, Seth Rollins talked about diarrhea on Monday and The Rock spews another 10-minute promo on why he isn't full of shit. This uncensored social media version of The Rock has been incredible. Shifty says, is a wrestling blog legit? Wouldn't know, don't track them. I'm not aware of their news ever making headlines or being reported anywhere with credibility. That said, kind of the same for me. Spider-Boss says, I think fans need to give you credit for the Mercedes money news. All news about Mercedes has been proven right. Thank you, Spider-Boss. Carl says, Twitter is a horrible place. I'm quite involved with the political scene and geez, I've had death threats for me being a member of Labour. Me too, mate, me too. Richard says, any chance a Battle Royale returns to Mania? Hasn't gone anywhere, mate. Hasn't gone anywhere. Spider-Boss says, Max Caster from the Acclaimed claimed he was hacked on Twitter after some controversial tweets on Sunday. In that same tweet, he also says, I don't disagree with anything said, so I don't really think he did. Barry says, I found people on Twitter are okay. Makes me wonder if I'm the annoying trolling git. I get what you're saying there. It's one of those where if you don't know who the arsehole friend is, probably you. Ross says, I enjoy these shows as although I have lots of friends, none like wrestling. So although I'm not the most vocal, I enjoy the shows and interact when possible. And I appreciate that, Ross. There are plenty of people who watch these shows and never say a word. They just sit in the background and lurk. And that's cool too. Michael says, you happen to know if there is any interest in Will Ospreay's girlfriend, Alex Windsor? I don't at this point in time have that information. Wrestler fan says, is the direction still for Lashley and the Profits versus Cross and AOP at WrestleMania 40? Seems likely at this point, yes. Juan says, hey Tom, quick question, was CM Punk AEW contract multi-year as well? Yes. Cal says, Tom, do you get what I mean? I feel Roman is being left out in this feud. I've been talking about that for a couple of weeks now, Cal. I know you've missed a few shows, but I will say, as regards Roman Reigns, I feel he's been largely ignored entirely, and that's a shame. Taylor says, Cross only gets a crowd reaction for his entrance and his girlfriend. Eric said, do you like MMA too? Kind of. I'm somewhat trained in MMA, particularly BJJ. Dylan says, hi Tom, hope you're having a great day. So far so good, Dylan. Welcome to the show. Ross says, I've been here for a long time because I've seen Tom's work and know it's credible. And that is the most telling point for me. I could not care less about the headlines and about having the love of Ryan Satin, Sean Ross Sapp. I could not care less. They don't watch my show. You watch my show. And you come back to the show because of it. That's all I need to know. Shifty says, was wondering because Wrestling Blog said the draft, there's no discussions and you said they were, that's why. Yeah, I expect a draft sometime after WrestleMania. Selvik says, is there a chance for NXT Europe to happen? Yes, they've announced it will. I haven't heard much, and when I've done some digging, didn't hear great things. Dylan says, Tom, who's a favourite to win the Gauntlet match because it's either Sammy or Chad Gable? It's either Sammy or Chad Gable. Jason, you're saying another false report. Give me the false reports that you're talking about. Give me a full list. Okay? Firstly, she will be showing up on Wednesday. Secondly, I want a full list of another false report that you've just listed there. Give me it all. Give me everything that you think I've reported that's been proven false. Give me all of it. I'm waiting for it. Keem says both Roman and Seth were very quiet. Shield days, they weren't the most important. Jason, what CM Punk report are you talking? The one where I said he's working with the wrestling media to come back to the WWE? The one where I said he's had meetings with WWE officials? Or the one during the show when he returned, where I said, here comes CM Punk, here's what his feud's going to be at WrestleMania, here are the plans with him for the next 6 months. So, no. Not a great start for you. Steve says, I don't know if I mentioned, but I'm going to WrestleMania. Congratulations, mate. Just hope those support beams for the canopy setup they do around the ring aren't blocking my view. Yeah, they try and make sure seats on the ground level aren't overlapping, but you never can tell. Cal says, because this is probably going to be the last few weeks of Roman as a champion, his reign is legendary, we should have him as great and at his very best. Does suggest that might not be what's there. That might not be what's going to happen. I did say that, Jason, and at the time I said it, which was 4 months before he returned, it was true. Maggie says, exactly, Tom, justice for my tribal chief. We the ones. Eric says, have you gotten some news about the faction WWE wants yet? Not quite yet, no. Taylor says, man of the people. Tilly says, I'll always watch you no matter what. I appreciate you, mate. Thank you kindly. I appreciate that. William says, sucks to see others steal your news and info, but you saying what you said about it all shows that you're the bigger and better person. I appreciate what you do for the wrestling community. Thank you very kindly, William. I appreciate you for that. Shifty, the news on CM Punk is the top story. Zip back to the beginning. It is all there. Spider-Boss says there should be a t-shirt that says SRS watches spoiler warning and basically repeats all your news about Mercedes. I just want to finally get round to it. And it's kind of my own fault. I just want to get round to actually making a spoiler warning t-shirt. Maverick said, just saying, I know people say Brock Lesnar's status in WWE hasn't changed, but what if he returns during the Gauntlet match and wins to face Gunter at WrestleMania? That would be hilarious. One of the people saying his status hasn't changed is me. Ross says, would the NXT globalization be under threat? Do you think, Tom? We avoid globalization. We avoid that phrase, and so did WWE. I referred to it as continentalization. A week later, they referred to it as the same. That was the plan that they were going for. I don't think it's under threat, but it has changed. It has very much changed. And you can see that with the shows in Paris, the shows in Germany, the shows in Puerto Rico, etc. Martin says, I came here as Tom is 100% reliable. I'm not 100% reliable. I'm not. That's simply not the case. I do my best, and I'm confident that I have a great record. Many of you here will tell me that I have a great record. I'm not 100%. Nobody is. Nobody. If anyone even noticed, Tom gave the Punk news 2 to 3 weeks before. Nobody noticed the sarcasm, sadly. To be fair, the thumbnail for the spoiler warning on Friday, the day before Survivor Series, is Punk to WWE. And that's also the show where people came in and said, yeah, well, I'm reporting Punk's going to WWE. So you're not. How dare you? Thumbnail literally said Punk to WWE. I do what I can, guys. Roger says, Raw tonight, Cody Rhodes interview, Liv Morgan versus Becky Lynch, Gauntlet match with Sami Zayn, Chad Gable, etc. Zoe Stark and Shayna versus Kabuki Warriors, Rhea Ripley, and more. No, Eric. I have not talked about the faction news yet. What I'd like you to do is watch the show, and you'll tell when I talk about the faction. Blue says, Tom, Punk isn't even wrestling at Mania. You were so wrong. Well played. Well played, Blue. Well played. Backward says, I still think Roman will win at Mania. Wrestler fan, is Trish Stratus going to come back to wrestle, or is she done? She keeps saying she's done. She keeps saying it. Alex says, you changed your reporting about Punk like facial expressions and small little things when you heard something. I openly said something has changed. Carl says, you're saying that might not be the case, makes me think Paul Heyman will beat Roman Reigns. Is this confirmed? Oh, thank you, Matthew. Says, Tom Colohue is the most trusted name in wrestling news. Oh, thanks, guys. Taylor would buy merch. Nice to know, mate. Nice to know. Mine says, Tom won't ruin shows, etc. He drops hints very suitably, and if you don't notice, that isn't Tom's fault. He won't spoil surprises. That's not great for people watching. Yeah, imagine if I'd spoil the biggest surprise, quite possibly in wrestling history. No Shifty, no plans that I'm aware of for Zilla Fatu in WWE. Cal says, did you see the AEW arena on Okada's first appearance? How do you think they can get more people in the door for shows? Well, one answer might be Mercedes money. Spider-Boss says, I know you don't watch much NXT. I want to know your opinion about why Cora Jade as heel hasn't worked on NXT, because it's relatively fresh and people aren't willing to give it time yet. Maggie says, love your honesty, Tom. Very rare these days. Thank you, Maggie. I appreciate you as well. Martin says, has SRS sent his marks in here tonight or what? Backward says, I love your humour so much. Thank you kindly. Dylan says, I think Jay is going to be the one to dethrone Gunter and at SummerSlam, because I think they're building Jay up to be the one to do it, especially since they want Gunter to go the main event. More on that as my very next piece of news. Alice says, yeah, Tom, you said Punk would wrestle Seth Rollins at Mania. How dare you be wrong? You got me. Jason, my channel is not called Spoiler Warning. The show is called Spoiler Warning, and it is a spoiler warning. Now, if you want everything spoiled, then you're actually on the wrong show. Okay? You need to be aware of that. You need to be aware of that. If this show isn't for you, that's fine. There are plenty of shows out there which will gaslight and bullshit you till the end of time. Plenty of them. If that's what you're looking for, you go right ahead. What I want you to do, wait till Wednesday. Exactly as you're saying you'll do. Wait till Wednesday. Then come back and tell me what you think. Okay? Spider-Boss says, I remember Ryan Satin got mad at me after I said his report about the role models crying after WrestleMania 35 was BS. One of my first reports on Mercedes money, proven right, was that she was taking a mental health break. Shifty says, give us a tease on who wins the gauntlet, please. The tease is very much the same as it always is. Sami Zayn is waiting for a WrestleMania opportunity. Chad Gable's the man who's earned it. Wiggly, thank you, appreciate you. Just to say a happy Ramadan to any followers observing. Well played and well done. Robin Dave to say, Tom, what's your percentage of Cody winning at Mania? Actually less than I was confident of last year. Maggie says, so true, Tom, they'll say anything for clicks. Sylvic says, besides you, Tom, I just watched Stephen Larson and Solo Monster shows. I used to. My name used to pop up on Stephen Larson's show quite a lot. It's where I met Ed. Gotcha, Jason. Ray J says, will WWE have wrestlers drink Prime on TV like the NFL players drink Gatorade on TV? Yes, they will. Alad says, is Punk just going to make an appearance on the Chicago episode of Raw because it's in Chicago, or will it set something up? Alad, all of that, everything I know is the top story, the first piece of news. By all means, sit back and check it out. Wiggly says, Tom, what's your retrospective view on the Eugene gimmick? Cringe, wasn't it? With eyes of now, yes. With eyes of then, also yes. Cal says, I had a dream the other day where Lord Tensai returned and beat Roman at WrestleMania. Mine says, how dare Punk get injured? Bad Punk, you upset Tom. Spoilers. Wiggly, Gilbert is not just Gilbert. There was actually a lot more to him, which is a Hall of Fame worthy career. Steve says, do you think the Gauntlet winner beats Gunter at Mania? I feel like the best fit to dethrone him is Dragunov. No, I don't. Because Brock Lesnar, who was originally planned to be the one to face Gunter, would have lost the match. And if you want extra evidence of it, First one to report that Brock Lesnar versus Gunther was happening at WrestleMania. First one to report that Brock Lesnar was returning at the Royal Rumble. First one to report that that was changing. The Usos. The WWE have run out of ideas to hype Jimmy versus Jey Uso and have largely conceded defeat that fans just aren't interested. The fans are not the only ones not interested. The Rock is apparently not very interested in stepping in to help planning or Bloodline or anything like that to really help them to get some heat behind them. And he's not yet been involved in anything beyond his own personal storyline. In fact, Brian Gewirtz, who is his personal creative team member, isn't writing anything apart from promos, which at the moment go way over, and as such he's not the most popular in the creative team. Unfortunately, I'm being told that Jey Uso is not a major part of WWE plans anymore. In fact, quite a few people regret having him leave the Bloodline in the first place. There was regret about Jimmy leaving, which is why he returned, despite being the guy who turned on Roman. As regards Jey, the heat just isn't there, and WWE have run out of ideas for what will actually happen to heat him back up. Spider-Boss says The Rock has been better with his videos on social media rather than his promos on TV. Michael says the giant logo from a sponsor in the ring is a no. I hate how AEW has logos on their ring. There will be more. Prime is just the first one. Cal says that smile from Tom makes me believe that Lord Tensai is the one to beat Roman. I've caught you out. Rocky says, what does this mean going forward for WWE? Because Nick Khan was involved in the whole scandal now. He has been accused of that. Nothing has been proven as of yet. Okay? Got to be clear on that. Also, it depends what that role would be. We have to be very clear. Accusation. Alyssa says, do you think Cody Rhodes need character change or heel turn? I think he needs more personality. Cal says, to be honest, I feel they ruined the hype between Jey and Jimmy. Just took too long. Maverick says, what do you think John Cena will end up doing at WrestleMania? I did report this earlier, about 20 minutes into the show. If you want to zip back to 20 minutes in on YouTube, you'll find it all there. Dylan says, are you saying that Cody is actually going to lose to Roman again, or are you just not as confident as you were last year? I'm not as confident as I was last year. Martin says, the way Cena is at the minute, a striptease Maverick, he's become a naturist. The man likes being naked. I can't blame him. Sometimes we all do. Thank you very much, Ray J. You're actually one of the earliest channel members on this channel. If renewing your membership for a 22nd month says there's this odd hope that WWE will have a working relationship with AEW, so Dustin will help Cody. Busted Open mentioned this morning. There may be an odd hope, but WWE are not believed to be interested in that. Taylor says Uso versus Uso would have been hot if they worked it in with the Bloodline story, but I feel like The Rock might have something to do with that. Cal says Jey should be the one to beat Gunther, in my opinion. Robin Dave says I ran into an AEW fan who thinks CM Punk is still in AEW. He said he doesn't believe my theory. Interesting. Alex says I think Triple H needs to make more TV appearances. Seeing as he said on SmackDown after the press event, he makes the decisions, and now The Rock is using his board position to add stipulations. Yeah, but they're playing up to the power dynamic. It's effective, and after WrestleMania I'd imagine there'll be a celebration from Triple H. Roger says, are you a fan of the TNA Knockout Tag Team? Gonna stop you there. I don't watch TNA regularly enough to be a fan of anyone. Selvig says Jey Uso I feel would be in some showcase match, Jey versus Jimmy. Matthew says I never liked the brother versus brother thing with the Usos, just put Jey back with the Bloodline. Spider-Boss says Jey Uso was so over with the Bloodline once Jey was traded to Raw, that hype was gone. WWE broke up the best tag team just for nothing. Wrestler fan says, will Dominic Mysterio be wrestling at WrestleMania 40? Possible? No real storylines at the moment. Leon says, I wish they removed the colour from the Prime bottle on the ring mat, just kept the black outline, because with the colour it is an eyesore. Cal says, this is my own opinion, but I do believe Cody will win. He's so over it's ridiculous, but you have to love Roman and Paul Heyman's never dying phones. Okay. Spider-Man says the Oscars could see him. They could. Maggie says, I agree. The Rock's promos are too long and repetitive. He needs to stand back and give the real tribal chief some airtime. I hear Rock's trying to get his grandma in Hall of Fame. Next. Who's next? He's Postman. That's a report from Fightful. I'm waiting to actually see it. Eric said Jey versus Jimmy Uso feud was on ice for too long and is taking forever to fall. Michael says what really is Cody's story, that he left WWE due to being unsatisfied with creative, was an EVP in a newly formed promotion, and is now entitled to the World Championship because he's Dusty's son. To be fair, he did win the Rumble twice. So that entitlement is kind of there. But his story, you're absolutely right. Dylan says, is Jey ever going to actually win a belt, or is Jey going to be a jobber for the rest of his career? The rest of his career likely has a long time ahead of it, and I don't know. Ghost says, I think there's been a pattern of excruciatingly long booking to the point that when it happens, no one cares anymore. It took months for Jay and Jimmy to even physically interact, and the story deserves a lot more time than it got. Alex says, I want to put this out here so we can keep an eye on it. According to Zero News, Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair and Naomi will face Damage Control at Mania. Okay, well, Kabuki Warriors need to defend their tag team championships. So if that is indeed the plan, that's not going to happen. Mustafa says, no, this is a worst case scenario awaiting us. It will connect the finishes to the sponsors on the mat, landing a Slim Jim Hurricane Runner on the Slim Jim logo makes it a 1-2-3. Good old-fashioned video game logic. Wiggly says, any idea who will induct Nakano? Medusa might be good. Medusa seems most likely. William says, do you think Rikishi will be a part of Jay vs Jimmy at Mania, maybe as a referee? No. Robin Dave says, if Roman wins again at Mania, the fans will probably walk out. They said that last year and it didn't happen. Martin says, thing that is weird with Uso feud is Jay is doing nothing retaliation-wise. Jimmy goes to Raw, but Jay is doing nothing back. Yeah, it's not Undertaker versus Kane, guys. It really isn't. Wrestler fan says, is Bianca versus Tiffany still a match for WrestleMania 40 or have they changed it? That's the match I believed was likely, but also, I still thought Jade Cargill versus Nia Jax was happening and that seems unlikely at this point. Now instead it looks like Liv Morgan versus Nia Jax will happen. Spider-Boss says, I read this on social media. Bayley's story is more compelling than Cody's story. Some people certainly do believe that. Maggie says, not me, I'll throw a party if Roman wins. Cal says, Tom, I really hoped we'd see the breakdown of Judgment Day at WrestleMania with Balor and Priest turning on one another, but I doubt we'll see that. Depends if Balor re-signs. Aled says, I want Roman to win at Mania. I think Cody's so overhyped. And Cal says, to be honest, Jay and Jimmy remind me of the 2009 Matt and Jeff Hardy feud. Robin Dave says, when do you think Rock will turn on Roman? I don't know for certain that The Rock will turn on Roman. Next up, the Women's Tag Team title match. So it really leans into what's been raised there to keep an eye on, thank you for bringing that, as regards the Kabuki Warriors, because the Women's Tag Team title match is actively being built up by having the championships defended regularly on WWE TV. Most of the championship defenses happening right now include wrestlers who will not be involved come WrestleMania. And that does mean that matches like the possibility of Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, which was mooted and considered for a while pending the Liv Morgan heel turn, is now unlikely. Raquel Rodriguez not going to be wrestling at WrestleMania. This does mean that the championships might not be defended, and instead we're seeing tag team championship matches now to get them out the way. But there are still plenty of tag teams, and the WWE are planning to rebuild that tag division. A large part of that is just ensuring that by WrestleMania, those championships are in a much stronger position than they were. Not every team will get the nod, and for many, for example, it looks like Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, this match tonight will be the closest they come to a WrestleMania spot. Leon says, according to TMZ, Miro and CJ Perry have split. That's a real shame. That is a real shame. Maverick says, WWE announced Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis to make an announcement tonight, so I'm not sure if it's the host, WrestleMania 41, or something for WrestleMania 40. We'll see how that goes. Shifty says, I saw Jade, Naomi and Bianca will team up in WrestleMania. Can you confirm? Nope. I don't think I've ever been able to confirm any Zero News reports. Genuinely. There's reasons for that. WWE were indeed out in force at the Oscars. The Rock was on a mission to talk to Bad Bunny while there. The WWE are looking for more time with Bad Bunny on their TV screens. There also was a huge amount of negative reaction to John Cena's naked prank. The man has worn less in WWE before. He debuted in about that much clothing when he wrestled Kurt Angle. So honestly, not that concerned about it. I think there's been a massive overreaction. If you want to see John Cena's pickle, I'm sure it's out there. He was just hyping a movie, guys. Calm the hell down. Michael says the women's tag team title match will be a fatal four-way and the teams will break apart in the following weeks. Been there, done that. Seems likely, but the intention is to build the actual tag team division, so I wouldn't necessarily say too many would break up. Dane says, who would you like to see The Rock wrestle apart from Cody or Roman? Punk. Also Drew McIntyre. Maggie says, shame on them, criminal how they've used Baszler. So Vic wants acknowledgement. And Martin says, smash those likes. We are on 48 out of 50, by the way, guys. 2 more gets us to 50. Cal says, Tom, tell us what you think, but I feel like The Rock is undoing the incredible work Triple H has done in the last few years. It's sad to see him not bothered with creative. I don't think he's undoing it. per se. I really don't, but I don't think it's actually helping. Spider-Boss says, what is Cody's story for real? All about him and references to Dusty. I think Cody needs more of a character than just to be the melodramatic babyface. Been saying that for a while, guys. Been saying that for a while. I don't blame you, Michael. I don't blame you. Jason, where have you got that from? I just said they're looking at a tag team championship match. Liv Morgan versus Nia Jax. Both of the actual championship matches as well. Plenty of stuff. Shifty, yes I did. Brock was my second piece of news about 12 minutes in. By all means, zip back to about 12 minutes and you'll see it all there. Cal says, why is everyone talking about John Cena at the Oscars? It's not like we could see him. Mustafa says, so the writer who wrote the Rusev Cookening storyline moves to AEW in Mirror and his wife split. Coincidence? Probably, yeah. I like that as a running joke, Mustafa. Keep with it. I like it. Callie says, late in, evening Tom, Brock's promos are awful. He really is a has-been. Wow. Wow. Thank you, Khalid, for clarifying that. Alan says, wait, could people see Cena at the Oscars? Well, apparently, he's let people know you can see him. Ghost says, just a reminder, we had 26 days until WrestleMania, less than a month left to create a bunch of build that's barely been there, especially in the tag divisions. Barry says, The Rock was awful, wooden, zero charisma or charm at the Oscars. Mikey says, great, just what an extremely weak sounding WrestleMania needs. Cena Punk. Yes. Why is it weak sounding to you, Mikey? Let me know. Shifty says, thanks for being a cool reporter, content creator. Appreciate it. Probably the coolest journalist I've seen in a while. I'm 35. I'm not trying to be cool. I'm never going to be cool. But I do respect that you have your own opinion there, mate. Wiggly says, who do you think might induct Ali? I hope The Rock would have a horrid feeling it might be name redacted or he was a close friend of Ali. I'm really not sure. Michael says, I thought Jay was going to be pushed to the moon. Seems unlikely at this point in time, unfortunately. And you all guessed it. You all guessed it. When I said in the headline that there is an AEW entire faction that the WWE is interested in picking up and dropping straight back into the WWE, you all guessed correctly. WWE has huge interest in all members of House of Black, including bringing them over as a faction and continuing that faction. Spider-Boss, Miro and CJ Perry did not bring their marriage to TV. The WWE brought their marriage to TV. William says, have you ever been to a Mania in person? Nope, I've only been to America once and only for the 2 weeks. Steve says, last year we had the Will Smith slap. This year Cena naked. Is the Academy trying to use Attitude Era tactics to reverse their falling ratings? Maybe. Maybe. Alyssa says, what problem Cody Rhodes, what do you want him? I want him, personally, to eat biscuits. We'll see how that one goes, Michael. We'll see how that one goes. We are going to wrap up now. We've been live for just over an hour. 49 likes, 292 views. Friday's show got an extra 700 views afterwards. So there's no time to really talk again, but just to reiterate my personal news, Tom's buying a house. I don't know if it's a house I'm going to be viewing on Thursday. I don't know if that's going to be the one. It's a bit too good to be true. But things have gone really well recently. After 3 years of doing this, and naturally my day job, I'm finally in a position where I can actually put a deposit down on a house. I will own somewhere. I will own something. And that's very, very big news for me. So I just want to say a massive thank you to all of you for being here, for sharing, for hitting like, and just for chatting. You've all helped to make this happen. And many of you were here many, many moons ago when things were bad. This is simply not the case anymore. So until next time, we will have PLE Wednesdays this Wednesday, WTF Wrestling on Sunday, and more spoiler warning on Friday. Please do remember, if you haven't already, follow me on the Twitter machine. We're doing good things over there, and it would help us drive further traffic and growth of the channel. In the meantime, I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic, and I will see you all very soon.